My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts.
This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And tonight we're going to have a live call-in from a couple of people. And let me just turn this music down here just a tad bit. We are going to have a call-in from Ginger McQueen. She's going to tell us about the Trump rally. We'll get to her in just a minute. And also from my good buddy John Guandalo, and we're going to talk about the Muslim Brotherhood and about Imran. I just forgot how to say his last name. Imran Awan, Awan, and how he was arrested for bank fraud, not for anything terrorism related. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm sure we'll have a few other things, but I'm probably going to get out of here pretty quick. I am like a madman when it comes to writing right now, getting through these edits. So why don't we go ahead and we'll get started on this show, and we're going to go to Ginger McQueen. I got a caller. All right, so let me just look up. Well, I got my phone in the. Let me get that out of there, out of the camera. There you go. Ginger McQueen. Let's call her up. And I'm going to have to hook this up. I got all kinds of production stuff going on here. There you go. And let's give her a shout here.
You have reached the voicemail box of...
Whenever this happens, I always leave them a message. All right, we're live, and you're not on here, so I don't know where you are. I'm going to call you back. So anyway, while we're waiting on this, and I did not put this in the title because I want to look more into this. I'm not really an expert. I can't say this. I have been a part of, in the FBI, squads that got money from federal grants. So I do know a little bit about this federal money that comes out that Jeff Sessions says he's going to go after sanctuary cities to withhold money from them if they don't participate in locking some of these criminals up, not notifying the federal authorities when one of these individuals is arrested and when they're going to get out. And so that's great. I love the fact that he's going after these sanctuary cities. But the problem I have with it is the money that he's cutting is money that goes to police officers getting better equipment for car improvements. I mean, literally, they're going to be taking money away from the cops, not the city. And I think, see, this is where I think that the president and Sessions, if they were closer, if they were doing better, they could come up with better ways to withhold money from these sanctuary cities. And so I think this is a problem. In other words, they're going to take money away from the cops in order to punish the city. I don't get it. If they really want to hurt the city, they need to scour the federal programs and see if there is something like federal grants that help with trash trucks, that help with trash collection, and those types of things, and they need to cut that. Trash, parks and recreation, education, those types of things are government fundings that I think that they could cut. Hey, there's Ginger McQueen. Let's go ahead and go to her. We'll talk more about this in a minute. Ginger McQueen, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good. You're live on the show, and let me put your picture up here. I didn't make you a little. I just went and grabbed your Twitter picture and put it up there so everybody can see it. So, because I had one made for you, but it's on my hard drive, so I got to go and grab that. So, tell us about. You were there. How close were you?
We were 5 rows from the front.
Wow. And you've been to one of these before where you were right behind him.
Knowing someone. Yeah.
And were there any dopey millennials giving the whatever that sign is and chewing gum back behind Trump this time?
No, not this time. There was some people behind him, but I didn't see any dopey millennials chewing gum. I know that was so frustrating for so many people. Yeah,
that ticked me off when I saw that the last time. When they were doing that. I forgot what the name of that thing is. The thing that they were doing with their arm that everybody's doing now. I mentally blocked the name of that out of my head. So tell us about what you took away from the speech. I am going to be honest. I've been so focused on going through the edits on my book that I have not turned the TV on in a week. And so the information I'm getting, I spend all day monitoring news all over the place, but what I've been doing is periodically throughout the day, I've been going online and monitoring the different, the Drudge Report, Fox News, CNN, looking at what all they're reporting. And so I really don't know what he said in this speech. I will tell you this, though, and I want to get your opinion on this. I did watch the video of his speech to the Boy Scouts, and I'm not clear as to what they were thinking when they put that together. That was not a speech that I think you should give to Boy Scouts. I don't know. Anyway, so let's talk about this speech.
Okay. Well, he stressed, the same things that he stresses during all of his speeches, that we're going to restore law and order, be prosperous again. And he just brings so much energy into a room. When he walks out, it's amazing to watch him speak. And it's just electric. So these rallies, I'm kind of addicted to going to them because there's nothing like it. We got there way crazy early today and waited in line for, 8 hours, 9 hours. But that's half the fun of the rally. Right. Is to go and talk to people who are waiting in line, because sometimes we feel like we're beat down. We hear so much negative. So to meet people who think the same way that you do and realize that you're not alone, it really juices you up. So I had this awesome lady. I have never seen her before in my life. She came up to me and told me that I had kind eyes, and she wanted to tell everyone that they need to pray for the president. And I did a whole Periscope with her. It was really touching. She was so sweet.
Yeah, I saw part. That's why I found out you were there. I saw part of your Periscope where you were in the crowd talking to all these different people, and I thought that was pretty cool that you did that. Next time, I think what we need to do is we need to get some video of you there, and then I'll play it on here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'll work good. So tell us about the speech.
Well, the speech, he really stressed how that we're restoring the country to what it should be. That all of, and Youngstown is one of those Rust Belt cities that was hit hard. So he was stressing how that those factories are going to be reopened and how we're going to be prosperous again. And it was so amazing. And I don't doubt him. Job growth is really climbing, and the stock market closed at an all-time high today. We have nothing but good things coming our way. And I think that he's got an uphill battle ahead of him. There's so many claws out for him right now. I think I'm on both sides of the aisle. And he's making the best of it. He looks like he's having the time of his life. It doesn't look like it's affecting him at all.
Right.
And that's reassuring, too, because, you know, we read the news, we feel beat down because we hear so many terrible stories of what's happening and the trouble that the administration might be in. And, you know, even if we don't believe the news, it's still demoralizing. So to see him come out as energetic as ever and as determined to make things good again, it's remarkable, and it's something that, you know, you just have to experience in person to really understand.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that he is just a very electrifying speaker, and he's very charismatic, and he says, you know, he says the same things, a lot of these speeches, you know, just his platform and what he's planning for the country.
Do you think that it would be possible to have these rallies without him, just to get the American people together and talk? I mean, you've been to enough of these now. Do you think that's possible, and how could we get that?
I don't know, but I would love to see that happen, because the left is so well organized. They're mobilized and they're ready for action.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing on the right? And that's something that, you know, and I think you've kind of planted that seed in my mind, that we need to be more active in that way of getting together, sharing thoughts, sharing ideas, and being proactive. And we're not really doing that. And I would love to see that, or love to have events where we could all get together like this and meet other people who are of like mind.
You know, I think maybe what we need to do is the next time there's one of these rallies, we need to get a group of people together, and we need to go there, and we need to start handing out some flyers or something where we can start getting people to partake, like in this show, to partake in the dialogue, and then maybe we can get people into a location to meet. I mean, it wouldn't matter if it was a field, a parking lot, or what. If there was, you know, or a stadium, an arena, we'd have to get people to allow us to have that there. Or I'm sure somebody would have to pay for that, so there might be some money raising involved. But the reality is, this electricity that everybody feels at these, that's the way it should be. I've been saying this for a long time, especially more and more now, is that President Trump is he's a temporary fix, because the reality is the permanent fix is the people. And if we don't get excited about us when he's gone, we're going to be lost. And I think the people need to start realizing that they don't have to have President Trump to organize and have a rally and to get excited, and they don't need a specific reason except for the fact that we need to start working together.
Right.
So
well, and we made this happen.
Right.
We elected him.
Right.
We got him in there. And the problem is, when Trump is gone, there is no other Trump unless we create someone, you know, and find and vet candidates who will do the will of the people instead of serve themselves and special interests. So that's a tall order, to find someone who has good character and will maintain that good character when they're in office. And, you know, I think that was one of the hang-ups with the Tea Party. We got a lot of people elected, and they went in and became just like the folks that we were trying to get rid of.
Well, I think that was the problem, is that so what people need to understand are that political parties don't necessarily represent the people. They represent money and power. And as soon as the Tea Party kind of became something, the only people, I mean, it's very easy for the people in power to jump to the top, and that's exactly what they did. They just jumped up there and just took over the same top positions that they had at their RNC. That's all that was.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to smack Rico because he's over there whining. Go ahead.
Oh, I hear so much discontent about Paul Ryan.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's not doing what we want him to do, but we also have to really give some careful consideration to what might happen if he's replaced and who we're replacing him with. That vetting of candidates is going to be so vitally important, and this isn't something we can do from the sidelines. You know, we need to go out and find people and recruit them to replace these folks. You know, people who have good intentions and good character and will do what we need them to do. We need a million Trumps. We need thousands of them, but we have to find them. And I know there are good people in this country who will do it, but they're terrified of having their names dragged through the mud. You know, like any normal person, you think about running for office, and I think that discourages a lot of good people.
Right.
You know, you kind of have to be have one leg in the swamp to be willing to put up with that for power. So I think we're in a good position because Trump has kind of turn the tables on that, you know, the media might come after you, but it's not destroying you. It's not ending your life, and certainly not ending your political career because you had something negative in the press. Mm-hmm. So maybe this is the swelling of something bigger, and I certainly hope so for 2018. But we have to vet these people that we're replacing the old guard with.
Yeah, there needs, and I've said this I don't know how many times on here, there needs to be a mutiny in the Republican Party, because it's really, look, I would love to do away with the political parties or start a more powerful third party, but the reality is they own half the seats of politics in this country. So we need to have a mutiny in the Republican Party, and we need to, I don't know how it can be done. I don't know. I know that I've identified that as being the thing that we can do to really change the course of this country and put it back onto a constitutional track. And this whole, let's start a new party, let's have a constitutional convention, let's do all these. I'm telling you, if we just had a mutiny of the Republican Party, there would be no need for that, because we would have I would say more than half, because there's a lot of people in the Democratic Party that are looking for somewhere else to go, and we would be able to pull them over because we would get rid of the nonsense.
Yeah.
Do you need to take that?
And I think that's entirely possible. With 2018 coming up, it is entirely possible that could happen.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. So is there anything else that you want to point out about that, about the rally today? I mean, it's been now over 6 months. Do you see the electricity waning, or is it just the same? Was the crowd the same? What was it?
The crowd was more intense tonight than anything I've ever seen, and I've been to a lot of rallies, 6 or 7. It's 7 if you want to count Chicago.
Right.
Surviving that riot. But yeah, there was it was just so incredibly intense, and I think that people have taken a deep breath. Yeah, we got him in there, but we're going to be behind him all the way of whatever he needs to do. So, we're going to be on the lookout and taking cues from him about what we need to do for candidates coming up in 2018. He can make or break somebody with a tweet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. And so, yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, anything else? Or how far of a drive do you have tonight?
Well, not too far. I stayed in Toledo last night and tonight, so I've got it broke up. It's just like 2 hours and 45 minutes to Toledo, and then I'll have another 4 hours and 45 minutes home tomorrow.
Oh, so okay, gotcha.
Long drive.
That's good. Well, it's good that you're breaking it up. All right, well, be safe, and you're quite the patriot, and I love this this new hat that you have on here, the Savage AF. What is that? Savage. What is that? The hat you have on Twitter.
Yeah, I can't say that.
Oh, you can't say that. Okay, well, it's up there.
What that stands for. That's curse word.
All right, gotcha. All right, well, it's just out there for the world to see. Okay, so we will.
Okay, not a problem.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
It was great to hear from you again.
You got it. Our in-the-field reporter, Ginger McQueen, the queen of all gingers. We'll see you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks.
All
Bye.
right, bye. Hold on 1 second, buddy. I got to plug you in here. Hold on.
I don't know. My daughter wants to know if you're man enough to join us for a Nerf Force.
All right, now you're on. You're on live now. I got you. Can you hear me?
Tell me when you're ready. I'll
Yeah.
go to a place that's a little more quiet.
No, we're good. You're on right now. I got to put your picture up here. So, let's see here. There you go. Man.
There I go.
There you go. That's the face only a mother could love. Oh my gosh. So, what do you think about this arrest today?
Of our little tech espionage ringleader.
Yeah. Well,
Well-
you know what? The more I read about it, they're making it sound like he did not have, that he actually didn't have anybody else working for him. Is that true, or is that not true? And by the way, if anybody's wondering what we're talking about, it's Imran. Why do I always get his name wrong? Awan. Imran Awan.
Yeah. Awan. Yeah, and he's one of 5 in a family that were had access mostly for Democrat Party members, but on the House side to technical information, emails, servers, things like that. And it's clear that they were using it for nefarious reasons. And the Capitol Police had an ongoing investigation. But this is, by the way, just as not as a sidebar, as an important part of the main part of this discussion. This is exactly the kind of stuff that Congresswoman Sue Myrick of North Carolina, of Charlotte, North Carolina, who's no longer in Congress, brought up when Chris Gobbets, our vice president of Understand the Threat, when he was undercover at CARE, she brought up when Muslim Mafia, the book about Chris's experience and about the Muslim network here, the Muslim Brotherhood network, she said the information Chris pulled out of CARE's headquarters, Hamas doing business as the Council on American Islamic Relations, showed that they wanted to put people in certain positions as staff members and others, and wanted to get Muslims elected to Congress so they could get their agenda achieved. And their agenda, per their own bylaws, is an Islamic State under Sharia. So this kind of stuff is, in my opinion, a small part of the tip of the iceberg.
Right,
that's going on.
And they're talking about millions and millions of dollars, like $5 million or more.
Yep.
So here's a question I have after reading all this stuff is, how in the world is it that they're just looking at these people with bank fraud? I mean, you think this investigation goes deeper than that, or has the FBI just become that inept that they're just going to go after this as a white-collar crime and they're not even looking at it when the CIA a CIA operations officer or former operations officer was talking about how he had connections to Hamas?
Right. Well, you've got, first of all, how do I think they're going to prosecute it the way they are? They're going to treat it like mishandling data and something like this. Is espionage.
Right.
And my encouragement to your listeners is that in the United States government today, it is not a disqualifier for a top secret clearance to be a leader in the Muslim Brotherhood. So let that sink in. So being a Sharia adherent Muslim certainly is not a disqualifier. And, you know, this is looked at simply as people who misused access, you know, financial crimes, things like that. That's how this is being viewed. And this is what we talk about when understanding the threat trains law enforcement. We had a wave of arrests in St. Louis and other cities in the last 3 months of convenience stores and hookah shops and things like that. And it was for a variety of criminal charges, but nobody was looking at the financing of terrorism in this, and this is a conspiracy to commit terrorism. Because they don't understand that when these Muslim businesses are doing what they're doing, that these monies are going to these things. Not 100% of the time, but a lot of the time, because it's required. I mean, zakat, just paying zakat, 1/8 of zakat goes to what we legally define as terrorism, which is mandatory giving for all Muslims. So there are all kinds of parts of this investigation that are being overlooked, because your average law enforcement at the federal and state level is just simply not aware of this information.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the outcome of this is going to be?
Well, I think there'll be, my hope would be more than one. I mean, at least the three of them would be prosecuted. What I think is going to happen is they'll do as little as they need to do to make this go away.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. Let me use an example that you're probably familiar with. When I was at the Washington field office of the FBI, we had an FBI agent there, and she was a Lebanese, and she left the bureau. She worked as she was an agent, but she did a lot of translation for interviews and things like that here and overseas. And then she left the bureau and got picked up by the agency and worked with them. And her name was Nada Prouty. And her case, as it turns out, her brother and she were very close to senior Hezbollah leaders. And she actually used the FBI system to make sure that she and her family members and some of the Hezbollah guys were not being investigated by the FBI. Now, the outcome of that investigation. Now, most people would say, "Holy cow! Is she still in prison? What's going on?" No, the FBI made it go away. She was fined, I think, less than $500, and didn't. That was it. So she was booked, but she wasn't given anything other than it was a marriage fraud case because she originally married a guy. And it was a marriage fraud case. I mean, that's it. So all that other stuff, all this other stuff got whitewashed because it's an embarrassment. And I just go back to, I know you're familiar with Philip Haney, the former DHS guy who put together numerous cases, and he had hundreds of records of organizations and individuals in the United States that are terrorists, and the leadership at DHS they removed them from the system. Because some of them were working in the White House and some of them work in other places. This is criminal activity to protect our enemies by government officials. So what do I think is going to happen is least the littlest that they need to do, unless the president gets directly involved. And there's so much other stuff going on, I'm not sure he would. But if he orders the attorney general to go deeper on this, this stuff's going on all over the place.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, listen, why don't we monitor this story, and then if you have anything else, which I'm sure you will, to cover on this, we'll just cover it some more and in the upcoming weeks, because this is kind of weird. The whole thing is weird. The amount of people this guy worked for is weird. The amount of money that he collected, the whole thing is just odd to me, and the access that he had is odd.
And that's the key, the access. Because
Yeah.
that's the part of the civilization jihad. I just want to emphasize for your listeners, this is counterintelligence and espionage. This entire war.
Wait, this sounds just
global war.
This sounds just like the whole Russian conspiracy that the DNC is doing, counter espionage and entrapment. That's what that is. So anyway. Listen, brother, I'm going to let you go. I got to get out of here real quick, and then you let me know. You monitor it, and then I'll monitor it. And if we have anything else, we'll bring you up and just keep giving updates. American people need to see this. They need to know.
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, John. Take care.
You got it. Don't get hurt. Don't let your kids hurt you in your Nerf war.
I won't. Thanks.
All right, my brother. Out.
Bye.
Here I am, as I promised. Got to turn this up a little bit. Yes, it's late, but I told you I'd do a True Zone. I'd come back on here, so here we go. What is the lesson of tonight? Well, I'll tell you something. After listening to this all over again, what John Guandolo was saying, and I'm going to have him back on here again to go over some of this stuff. There is something going on in our country right now with the Muslim Brotherhood, and I don't know, I can't figure it out. I mean, I know about the Red-Green Alliance. I understand that. I understand that there's nefarious people in Washington, D.C. But what are the people in Washington that are not part of the Communist Party, that aren't the Muslim Brotherhood? What are those people thinking? Do they not see what's going on? I don't know if they do see that. That's very bothersome, folks, because first and foremost, our country is in shambles. Budgets are overrun. Politicians are creating slush funds that they practically live off of. Mayors like de Blasio here in New York City is going overseas after a cop gets killed, ignoring the fact that he should be supporting their family so he can go over and protest with anarchists and communists against our own president. Where are the rest of the people in Washington, D.C.? Are they so power hungry and happy that they just forget that this stuff is going on? It's mind-boggling for two reasons. One, that it has been allowed to happen for so long. And two, because the American people have been systematically dumbed down. They have been systematically taught helplessness. They have been systematically weakened to the point where they're too trapped by shiny stuff on TV and the computers that they don't even realize that people in Washington, D.C. and in power across this country and the people that are part of these two political scams, the Republican and Democratic parties, they don't even realize, the American people do not realize that we are being taken. So, I don't know the answer to this. I'm telling you, I've been doing this show for over a year, folks. And I know we don't have a lot of people on here right now. But the reality is, I've been doing this show for over a year. And every day after I have guests on here and go over these different things, my hope doesn't diminish, but my faith in the American people is greatly diminished, and it's shocking. There are other answers. There's a lot of answers of how we can fix this. I don't see it happening. I hope I'm wrong, folks. I hope these voices like mine and other people that are trying to get the truth out, that it grows. We're modern day prophets. Not that we want to be prophets, not that God speaks to us any more than he does anybody else, but we're the ones on the front line trying to spread this truth. Help me spread it. I'm Jonathan Gillum. Rico's right there. This is The Experts. And I'll see you all tomorrow, 9 p.m. The truth has arrived.